The Balance, a story about money, time, and you become 1,247 cent. That's the number glowing on your phone screen. Not your savings, not your investments, just your balance. You check it at 11:43 p.m. Lying on a mattress you bought secondhand from someone who said it was barely used. You check it again at 11:44. Nothing changes. It never does in 1 minute. You are 23 years old. You have $31, zero in student loans, $4,200 on a credit card, and a paycheck coming on Friday that is already gone before it arrives. You tell yourself something quietly. I'm not behind. But every decision you make says otherwise. At the grocery store you calculate, not roughly, precisely. You pick something up, check the price, put it back. Olive oil, too expensive, name brand, not today. You switch to the cheaper option. Again, you convince yourself it's the same. You split a streaming subscription with someone you don't even like anymore, not because you care about the shows, but because canceling feels like losing ground, like slipping backward. This is what zero feels like. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just a quiet, constant pressure. A low hum of numbers running in the background of your life, always calculating, always adjusting. You don't talk about money, nobody at this level does, but everyone is doing the same math. Quietly. You check your banking app more than your messages. You know your account number by heart. You move $200 into savings, and then move it back 3 days later. At this stage, money isn't a tool, it's oxygen, and you're never quite sure if you have enough. Rule 1. At zero, money is emotional. Every decision feels urgent. Every expense feels personal. And emotional decisions compound, but in the wrong direction. Then something changes. A raise, not life-changing, 6,000 more per year. It becomes about 387 extra per month. For one afternoon you feel rich. You imagine things, freedom, relief, space. Then reality interrupts. Your car needs $900 in repairs. Just like that, the extra disappears. You learn something most people don't understand yet. Expenses expand to fill the space you create. But then, you make your first real move. You pay off a credit card, $200, gone. You stare at the zero balance. You take a screenshot. You don't send it to anyone. Because no one would understand what it means but to you. It means everything. For the first time, a number moved in the right direction. Because of something you did, that's where it starts. The first shift, you reach $10,000 in savings. You're 26. You've never seen 5 digits in your account before. Not once. You check it constantly. But this time, not from fear, from disbelief. You don't spend it. You don't touch it. You just let it sit there. Because psychologically, $10,000 feels bigger than it actually is. You feel different. Like you've entered a new category of person. You haven't. But it feels like you have. You start learning, not motivation, not hype. Real knowledge. You learn what investing is, what an index fund is, how money actually moves. You open an investment account, and then do nothing for 3 weeks, because now the fear is different. It's not losing money. It's making the wrong move. Finally, you invest $500. The next day, the market drops. You stare at the loss. You think about pulling out. You almost do, but you don't. And that moment matters more than the money itself. Because now you're deciding something deeper. Will fear control your decisions, or will you? The competence trap. You're now earning $68,000 a year. You've saved $40,000. You're doing everything right. Saving, investing, planning. You have retirement accounts, an emergency fund. You avoid lifestyle inflation. On paper, you're winning. But one night, you run the numbers, fully, honestly, all the way to the end. You project your future. 40 years of disciplined saving. And when you see the final number, something shifts. It's not bad. It's not failure. It's fine. But it's not what you want. And that's when you realize you've mastered survival, but not growth. Rule 2. Salary is a ceiling disguised as ticket. It feels stable. It feels safe, but it limits you. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So you try something new, a side project, not a business, just something small. It makes $400, then $900, then $1,700 a month. You don't tell anyone. You reinvest everything. You stay disciplined. Months pass, then years. Your net worth grows $80,000, $110,000. Now you start seeing something important, the gap. The gap between what your job gives you and what your assets can build, and inside that gap is leverage. The leverage. Stage your investments start earning without you. $3,800 in a year, no extra work. Your side income sometimes beats your salary. Now you understand what an asset really is. Not a concept, not theory. Something real, something that works while you sleep. Time starts to feel different. You measure it differently. Every hour becomes a question. Does this compound or not? The identity shift. You reach $150,000, then more. You start saying no. No to things you used to accept automatically. Trips you can't justify. Expenses that don't align. Opportunities that don't make sense. People notice. Some don't understand. Some take it personally. But you stay quiet and you stay focused. Because now you understand. Not every relationship should cost you your future. The $1 million moment one day. It happens. No celebration, no ceremony. Just a number on a screen. $1 million, 1,000. You pause. You expect something. A feeling. A shift. But what you feel is quiet. And then clarity, because you realize 1M doesn't mean freedom. Not really. At 4% return, that's $40,000 a year. Enough to survive. Not enough to live fully. And that's when it hits you. The goal was never the number. It was proof that you could build something. Final truth somewhere right now. There's a 24-year-old standing in a grocery store, checking their balance. $1,247, doing the math, putting something back, choosing the cheaper option, thinking this is just about money. But it's not. It's about who you become. What you sacrifice, what you learn to ignore, what you learn to build. Because the system doesn't ask if you're ready. It doesn't wait. It just runs, every day. And the people who show up, consistently, patiently, without quitting, they compound. The money compounds, the skills compound, the identity compounds. And it always starts the same way, with a number $1,247. The balance, part 2. What happens after you understand? The game you thought understanding money would simplify things. It doesn't. It complicates them. Because once you see how the system works, you start seeing it everywhere. In conversations, in job titles, in the way people spend, in what they avoid. You start noticing something uncomfortable. Most people aren't building wealth. They're maintaining appearances, a nicer car, a slightly better apartment, a vacation that looks expensive but leaves them exactly where they started. You don't judge them, because you were there. But now, you can't unknow what you know. The enviable cost at this stage, the biggest expenses aren't obvious. They don't show up on receipts. They don't hit your bank account directly. They show up as time spent on the wrong things, energy wasted on low-return decisions, attention scattered across things that don't matter. You start realizing money isn't just about numbers. It's about focus. Where your attention goes, your financial future follows. Rule 3. Attention is your first asset before money compounds. Attention does. What you pay attention to daily becomes your reality. If you focus on consumption, you stay a consumer income. You stay dependent assets. You become a builder. The shift is subtle, but permanent. You stop asking, how much does this cost? And start asking, what does this return? Not just in money. In time, in opportunity, in leverage. The loneliness pays. There's a stage people don't talk about because it's uncomfortable. As you grow financially, your environment doesn't always grow with you. You think differently now. You value different things. You say no more often. And that creates distance. Not dramatic distance. Quiet distance. Conversations feel repetitive, predictable, survey level. You sit in a group and realize you're no longer thinking about the same problems. And that's when it hits you. Growth changes your environment, even if your environment doesn't change with you. Rule 4. Growth creates distance before it creates resource. This is the part where most people stop, not because they fail, but because they feel alone. They go back to what's familiar, what's comfortable, what's accepted. But the people who continue, they sit in that discomfort. They accept the silence. They accept the misunderstanding. Because they know something most people don't. This phase is temporary. The leverage obsession. Now your thinking sharpens. You stop chasing effort. You start chasing leverage. Leverage means doing less, but impacting more. There are only a few types: time leverage, systems, automation, financial leverage, investments, capital, social leverage, people, networks, knowledge leverage, skills, insight. Most people rely on one, their time. You start building the others because you realize time doesn't scale. No matter how hard you work, there are only 24 hours. But systems don't sleep. The system shift you. Stop asking, what can I do today? And start asking, what can I build that works without me? This changes everything. You begin creating processes instead of tasks, assets instead of income streams, force instead of reactions, and slowly, your life becomes less reactive, more intentional. Rule 5. If it repures you forever. IT's not freedom. A job requires you. A system doesn't. A salary depends on your presence. An asset doesn't. And once you understand this, you can't go back. The risk reframe earlier. Risk meant losing money. Now, risk means something else. Staying the same. You realize the biggest danger isn't failure. It's stagnation. Because stagnation is invisible. It feels safe. It feels stable. But over time, it quietly erodes your potential. Rule 6. The cost of inaction is always bigger than it looks. Not immediately, not obviously, but over years. It compounds. Missed opportunities, delayed decisions, unbuilt systems. They don't show up as losses, but they are. Second, identity shift. You're no longer trying to make money. That phase is over. Now you're trying to allocate money, multiply money, protect money. These are different skills, different mindsets. Making money is active. Managing money is strategic. And multiplying money, that's psychological because it requires patience, restraint, discipline. Things that don't feel productive, but are. The Padian's paradox at this level. Speed becomes dangerous. Quick decisions lead to mistakes. Overtrading leads to losses. Chasing trends leads to regret. You start slowing down, not because you're lazy, but because you understand timing. Rule 7. Wealth is built in waiting. The best investments don't require constant action. They require correct positioning and patience. You hold longer, you think deeper, you act less frequently. But when you act, it matters more. The environment you grade eventually. Something changes. You meet people who think like you, not identical, but aligned. They talk about opportunities, systems, strategy, long-term thinking, not just expenses and salaries. And suddenly, you don't feel alone anymore, because now you're in the right room. Rule 8. Your environment sets your financial ceiling, not your intelligence, not your effort, your environment, because it shapes what you see, what you believe is possible, what you attempt. Change the room, and you change the trajectory. The final realization after all of this, after the numbers, after the growth, after the shifts, you understand something simple. Money was never the point. It was a tool to buy. Time, freedom, choice, control, and most importantly, distance from stress, urgency, survival, thinking. Closing. Send somewhere right now. Someone is still at the beginning, checking their balance, doing the math, feeling the pressure. They think they need more money, and they do. But what they really need is a shift in thinking, in habits, in decisions. Because money follows behavior, not the other way around. And the moment that behavior changes, everything else begins to follow. Slowly, quietly, inevitably, the number changes. But more importantly, the person changes, and that's the real story.